Okay, so now we're on to chapter 2 of Shawty. Before we get started, I need for you to hit the like button. I need for you to share it. I need for you to leave a comment, ask some questions. Subscribe, man. I'm gonna keep this whole book going, man. I'm gonna figure it out and we're gonna get some type of motion. This is my card. This is actually my first business card. And it's also, those eyes were used as the cover of my book. It looked familiar. So when I was in jail, mind you, I took every trade that I could possibly take. I took computer class, I took auto body and paint, barbering, culinary arts. Whatever trade they was offering, man, I took it. I only got 2 GEDs. You know, I became a teacher's aide in the GED class, teacher's aide in culinary arts. I just felt like the more that you learn, the further you get away from making illogical decisions. So one of the classes that we took, I think when Alto got shut down, they sent us to Washington. So when they sent us to Washington, Miss, I cannot think of that teacher's name, but she was cool. She didn't play, but we used to go through the Microsoft books, the Windows books. So we would take courses in Excel, Access, Outlook, PowerPoint, Word, everything that came along with that program. And so when I already knew the cover that I was going to design the cover, but I just took one of my pictures and I just played with it. I just played with it a little bit, but also an interesting story, interesting to me. But the back of the book, when I came home, man, my first apartment, I stayed at mind you, I'm 29 years old when I came home. I'm 19, 20 when I wrote this book. When I came home, I probably stayed at my mom's house for about maybe 3 months. And then I was like, yeah, it's time to grow up. It's time to grow up. So my first apartment was in Kensington Station. My rent was $430. Remember when rent was $430? Oh my God. 1 bedroom. I ain't having a whole lot of furniture. I'm gonna tell you a true story how I got my first couch. Somebody didn't pay their rent. They got put out. I seen the couch with some more furniture by the trash. My daddy had gave me a 1991 Astro van. It didn't have no heat, no AC, no radio, and the passenger side door did not work. But I was able to get that couch inside the Astro van. I got that couch inside the Astro van. I went to Anna's Lane. I cleaned the couch as much as I could. I went to Anna's Linen, put that linen on there. It didn't really go with nothing, but I had in my front room, I had a couch, I had a TV, no flat screens, I had a TV. In my room, I had a bed. But anyway, so this was my first apartment, man. I was just trying to figure life out. But I did have a camera. So nobody took this picture, man. I'm holding my hands this way. I know it looked like a stupid picture to put on the back of a book, but I'm holding my hands like this because I don't really know nobody. And I ain't trying to be slowed down by trying to sit in up. I should have slowed down so I can, this is how old this book is. Like, it got my MySpace page. But I wasn't trying to get, I wasn't allowing nobody to slow me down. So I unfortunately did all the editing myself. The book is currently going back through editing so we can, clean some stuff up and make it something that makes sense. Because in the first chapter, I had a lot of grammatical errors. But nevertheless, I'm holding my hands like this because the camera that I bought from Best Buy, I'm holding the remote in my hand. I'm holding the remote in my hand and I'm pretending to look afar, and then I take the picture. But I was like, bro, I'm like nothing slow. Maybe I could have just put it on the timer. My mind wasn't working that way, so I just held the remote in my hand. I'm holding the remote in my hand, I'm taking the picture, and I'm looking like I'm preoccupied. So I was determined to put this book out, man. And I did. And I made people at the barbershops and beauty salons and all my homework. Oh, now shout out to Mikhail, because Mikhail at the time had Ocean 66 on Old National. As soon as I dropped my book, Mikhail let me go, bro. He let me have my way. He let me go up to the club. I was selling the book inside the club. Big respect to Mikhail, man, because matter of fact, when I enrolled, it's a whole nother story. When I enrolled in Atlanta Technical College, when I got to the end and I had to do my my internship somewhere, I did my internship at Chit Chat. I did my internship at Chit Chats. Like, bro would really just show me the floor of the club. Like, I learned so much in one of the darkest places on County Road, man. And I'm not talking about him just talking my head. I'm talking about me having my paperwork, giving it to him, him really putting the hours in, showing him I'm up in Chit Chats, understanding how the bar work, understanding the floor of the club. And he was telling me like how he knew this one right, how he can tell this, and he had it down to a sign, bro. I learned a lot, and he signed off on my paperwork, and it got approved. So shouts out to bro, man. He came through like a big homie just then. But so nevertheless, the last chapter, it ends with the first chapter, which is the last chapter. It ends with I introduce no more characters. I introduce Lil Joe, who has some similarities to Joseph in the Bible. I introduce AA, who has some similarity. He has a lot of similarities to Aaron in the Bible. I introduce Asia. Asia, a lot of things took place in Asia in the Bible. So you'll see in later chapters how some of those things kind of correlate. Mind you, the only book I was reading when I was writing this was the Bible. And I was in the hole because I couldn't keep my hands to myself. But I was engulfed in the Bible at that particular time. But I still had that dash of ratchetness in my spirit. So you got cuss words, you got profanity, but the story within itself, it develops in a way where, in my mind, I was like, I want somebody who wouldn't normally pick up a Bible to, if they get exposed to it, if they read this book, then they'll have some type of understanding of the characters or some of the things, the associations, if that makes sense. So I introduced a number of characters there. Freaknik is seated going on the last chapter of the last paragraph of the last paragraph of the first chapter ends like this. Starts and ends like this. Running across the street in front of the LeSabre was a being that could not be seen by the human eye. He was precise with his movements. So when he reached through Alicia's rolled up window without breaking it and touched her on the shoulder, she sneezed. He was Shawty. Alicia's also in the Bible. And I got the LeSabre in the book because in 1996, I had a 1985 Buick LeSabre. A lot of y'all ain't gonna understand how connected I was to it, but I had the wood grain. I had the 8s and Vogue. You couldn't tell me nothing. I look, sometimes I used to sleep in the car just because I couldn't believe I had them gorillas in the trunk. I was as ignorant as they came. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna put that book. There's some other cars in here that I've had some experiences with that I also put them in here, but 85 Buick LeSabre, smoke gray. If any of my rich friends or any of my friends get rich and you want to give me a birthday gift, give me an 85 Buick LeSabre and don't upgrade nothing. But I do want the wood grain with the deep with the D-face. And some 415s in the trunk and isomeric balls. Anyway, so chapter 2. Look, like, subscribe, share. It's gonna be a good story. You're gonna like the story. You're gonna hear some things that if you from the city, if you're a Shawty or you done read your Bible and Jesus love you, you're gonna hear something that is good to you. So I need for you to share this video, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Let's keep it going. Get in the comment section, say something. Okay, so chapter 2. Daddy, the small boy with the curious frown across the table from his father. Oh, the small boy with the curious frown sat across the table from his father. The two of them were eating breakfast at the Pancake Palace during lunch hours. Yes, Micah. The muscular man with the mannerisms of someone who believed he was safe glanced at his son, who reminded him of his wife. Can Grandpa still whoop you? Micah asked. Keyshawn smiled, which let his son know he had made a funny. Micah, did Grandpa tell you to ask me that? He shook his head. Do you think he can still whoop me? He shrugged his shoulders. He said he could. Michael, who am I? Your daddy. And who's responsible for you? You are. Right. And how long am I responsible for you? Until I grow up. And then what? Then I'll be my own man. Right again. And nobody will be able to whoop you. Right? Right. Micah clenched his fist in anticipation in becoming a man someday. So now, do you think that Grandpa can whoop me? Micah looked to the window for an answer, then turned back. I don't know. Keyshawn couldn't hold back his laughter. Micah braced himself as his father charged and began tickling him until his tummy ached. When he couldn't take any more, Micah surrendered. Okay, Daddy, okay. I give. Keyshawn pretended to retreat, then doubled back and attacked with more tickles. Their male bonding ended when Micah reached for his jacket pocket. I can't breathe, Daddy, he said. Keyshawn handed him his inhaler and waited as he cured himself. After he caught his breath and he thought that all was well, Micah sneezed. That's chapter 2. So it's a short chapter. I have a lot of short chapters in here. Can we do chapter 3? Can I give you chapter 3? I'm gonna do this. We're gonna do chapter 3 too, since this was so short. Chapter 2 was very short. Chapter 3 is short as well. So I'm gonna give you 2 chapters. Now, with his hands gripping the grain of the wooded steering wheel, Demetrius dipped in and out of traffic until he reached the intersection in front of the 5 Points train station. When the light turned green, he pulled the LeSabre out into the center of the three-way. Blocking an already congested parade of vehicles, the LeSabre, which had been hand-picked by AA, was professionally coated with a wet, foggy-looking gray paint job. Sitting on a set of chrome reverse 8s and Vogues, the eye-opening four-door was officially in the game. With his headlights on high beam, Demetrius was bouncing to the strong drops of bass that were busting out of the trunk. To the blind, it sounded as if the marching band was performing in the middle of the street. Lil Joe, Asia, and Alicia bounced with the band, and the car motioned up and down as bystanders and freak seekers admired. One hand behind his neck and his other hand fisted towards the sky, Lil Joe rocked his head. What? Hanging out of the window, he mean-mugged with enthusiasm. Asia followed suit, and the two of them set off a chain reaction throughout nearby vehicles and the thickening crowd. The whole city seemed to be bouncing with them until competition showed up. Attempting to steal the show, an all-black Catalina with triple gold Dayton white rims and merit-tinted windows faced off with the LeSabre. Asia and the others stopped bouncing, and it seemed like the Catalina had thieved all their attention. With air shocks pumped up, the black animal-like car stood over them. To add insult to injury, the driver stepped down on the gas, and the 4 gold pipes in the back of the Catalina spit fire. Onlookers shook their heads and pointed with oohs and ahs. Turning his wheel like he was about to pull off, Demetrius joked, then manipulated the box of hydraulic switches on his car seat. The LeSabre jumped up on all fours, dropped back down, then raised up again. Waiting for the mob to quiet down, he lifted the car up on 3 wheels. As he moved closer to the Catalina, the crowd went crazy, as if Holyfield had knocked his opponent to the floor. Taking things to the extreme, he crept closer, then planted the spinning wheel on the hood of the approached car. Sensing that Demetrius had gone a little bit too far, Alicia pounded on the dashboard, signaling for him to back down off of the damaged vehicle. But when she looked over at him, She could see that he was doing everything that he could to undo what he had just done. With the confusion of a black teen who had not properly been guided, he fought for something that would never belong to him. He did what he could with the switches on the hydraulic box. The LeSabre would not budge. Let us out of this car, Alicia demanded. She peered over the seated Asia. That's when the first shot dived through the front windshield and into the nape of her neck. In the back seat, Asia was frozen in her sister's warm blood. Emotional shots polluted the air, and she looked over to her left. The door was open. Lil Joe was gone. That's chapter 3. Like, subscribe, share, comment, ask questions. See y'all in chapter 4.